The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it's one of those nights already. Hey everybody, welcome. We're glad everybody's here listening to us. Welcome to ARM Digital Radio. You're on the air with Talk Live Paranormal with Shannon and Bill. We are so glad you guys are here tonight. I am Mr. Bill.
I am Shannon.
Welcome everybody. Hey, first before we get started, as we always do, we want to throw a great shout out to all of our former and currently serving military out there. You guys are the best in the world. We thank you for everything you do each day. We want to make sure you guys come home safe. From one veteran to the rest of you guys, hey, thank you very much. We couldn't do this without you guys. Keep your heads down, get one for us, and just come home. Your families are waiting here for you. So thank you guys very much for everything you do.
And definitely.
So we've got a little bit of stuff to talk about. Before we get into a whole bunch of stuff, we got a little bit of news to talk about. Okay, there was the news. So
that's it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We're out of here. No. So Shannon, you worked at Bobby Mackey's, so we're going to talk about that later. That was last Thursday. I didn't work at all this weekend. I didn't do anything really that I don't remember because I was sober. I usually remember when I'm drinking, but it was. I'm still kind of got the whole Nopum sanatorium. I can't even say it. I got that
still on your mind.
Yeah, it's still there. There's still some things that I've been listening to a lot of the EVPs, the recordings that we did there. There was Tyler had an experience, and I don't know if we talked about this last week. He had an experience last week with one of the first times ever, his REM pod going off and him telling to stop, and it was stop and be like, okay, if you're there, really go do that again. And you could just see all the guests just slowly huddling together and getting closer and closer. Like,
well, that's because they know Tyler's a psychic medium. So
now, okay, maybe you could explain this to me, because on the recording, I'm sitting there listening to it, and the whole time I'm hearing a heartbeat in the background on the recording, and there was nobody within 10 feet of that recorder. And there was Then at one time it sounded like somebody was rubbing the mic or touching the microphone, like you touch a microphone and get that on top of it. There's one section there where somebody, like Tyler's talking to a lady and stuff, and so it sounds like somebody's rubbing it. And I remember I'm standing there, it's on a table, literally 10 feet from anybody, and no one's around it. So that was kind of one of those, moments where you kind of sit there and listen. And then of course he told that lady she was pregnant, which was, that went over well. Yeah, that didn't go over real well. So then he had a couple people. We got a lot of stuff on the SLS camera. You can see shit just crawling across the ceiling down in that basement. So the only one I've listened to so far is Tyler's, and I am going to try to get that set up and be able to upload that onto the Ghost Hunts USA group page.
Is that the one where you can hear the heartbeat?
Yeah, it's freaky. Okay. It's just this constant. Boop, boop.
Well, it's weird that you said that, because we had a guy, a father and a daughter, come to RCI one time, and he had I was, for some reason, other than his daughter, but I was the only one that could hear it. You could physically hear it like a disembodied voice, somebody's heartbeat. And it was, go ahead.
No, go, God damn it.
But I forgot what he called it. It wasn't not a pacemaker. I forgot what he called it. But it was in her dad. Like, it was something to do health-wise with him. But you could physically hear his heart beating.
Well, see, so at first I thought, okay, so Tyler was directly in front of the recorder. Is it his heartbeat that I'm picking up? But then he moves clear to the one side, and it's still there, and it's not strong enough to when I run it through the audio program. It's not strong enough to register and show on the graph, but it's strong enough to register and show in the bars, and you can see them moving, and it's just a constant heartbeat the whole time. Now,
which recorder was it used? What were you using?
I was using the Zoom, the little Zoom, one of the.
Oh, the one that's amplified.
And so, it picks up everything. It pick up a mouse fart on the moon, I think.
I'll have to hear it. If you can get it.
Yeah, I'll get it once I get it downloaded and get it all. I'm not going to chop it. I'll send you the raw footage on that one. Okay. But then I'm listening, and you can hear this every now and then. There's this pop and click. And then there was just a couple others. There's a couple freaky things on there that I need people to listen to try to figure out what it was. And then, of course, it's Tyler's entire session, him talking to the people and talking about how these people buried their dog. There's a dog, and there's, he was talking to this couple about they had a dog. Well, they told him they had a dog because he had brought up something about a dog, talking about a friend of theirs that had passed away, and then the dog thing got going, and he's like, "Why are you moving the dog?" And you could just hear the guy's voice, like, "Oh crap! Well, we're moving, and we buried the dog because he died 2 weeks ago, and the kids want to take him with us and bury him in the new house we're buying in the yard." He goes, "So you're moving him?" So Tyler was nailing. He was so dead on. It was scary as hell.
So they wanted to dig up the dog and move it to their backyard of the new house or something.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't understand that one. But yeah, it was just so little things like that. I've been listening to. I watched the video from the new camera. God, I love that new camera. There's a couple of them out there. I think there's from Spiritual Encounter Society, which is Brittany, which she's going to be on here on one of her next couple of shows. She was doing a live stream on hers, and I was following her with my camera and videotaping while she was live streaming. So there's a lot of good footage from in there, but there's a lot of freaky stuff that just doesn't make sense happening in that place. Like I said last week, when I got mad and got really upset for no reason. It's just something.
And that's not like you.
No, and then the EMF, all the EMF detectors on the ground just started. I'd get mad, they'd light up. I'd get mad, they'd light up, and I finally caught myself and went, "Why are you doing this?" And I calmed down, and they never lit up again. So it was that kind of footage. So, yeah.
Well, don't talk too much into that, because that goes back to the questions that our guests sent us.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue. I'm biting
Cut
my
yourself
tongue.
off.
So we have an amazing guest with us tonight. He's been on several of the Ghost Hunts USA hunts. He's done, I don't remember which one he said. You know what? Just hell with it.
OSPH. He's done all South Pittsburgh.
Daniel, you there?
I am.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, just another night.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet. No, that's awesome. I'm glad you could be here. It's kind of nice having the other side of people that have been on the hunts with us. We don't often get to sit down and talk with people that have done things like that. Usually we're running around trying to take care of things, and we never get to. We experience a bunch of stuff, but never get to sit down and talk with the people afterwards, because everybody's kind of leaving because it's, oh my God, early in the frickin' morning.
I think the only other person we've had on the show that was a past guest was Juanita.
Yeah, that would be it. So Daniel, thank you very much for being here. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
So Shannon, do we want to? How do we want to approach this?
Are we jumping into what he sent, or you want us to briefly talk about what happened at Bobby Mackey's?
Go ahead and jump into both of you jump into Bobby Mackey's, and I want to hear about that.
Okay, well, we were at Bobby Mackey's last Thursday, and that's where I met Daniel for the first time. And it was actually a pretty quiet night compared to the 2 weeks prior when the bottle was thrown. But we tried like hell to get it to happen again, but it didn't happen. We had a couple weird incidences, I guess, right towards the end of the night before we had to lock up and go, but I was talking to him, and I know I've talked about this. This had to have been a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the gentleman that stood over the well at Bobby Mackey's with the Ouija board and was cutting his arms and bleeding on the Ouija board.
That wasn't you, Daniel, was it?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Just want to check.
But that was very stupid, in that guy's part. But I was on the main floor talking with Daniel and the other woman that let us in, and was telling him the whole story. And prior to that, we both went down. Just the two of us went down to the basement. He set up his camera. We had together 3 or 4 recorders going, and we left them down there with nobody down there. Everybody else was up in Carl's apartment. What are you laughing at?
You always leave people in areas. Like, just stay your ass here.
I didn't leave him down there. Are you talking about the people in Carl's apartment?
No, you said you left Daniel. Did you just leave Daniel
we
down?
left his equipment down there. Right? Leave him down there by himself.
Oh my! Please accept my most humble apology at this point in time during the game.
I mean, Daniel was there to witness me, asking for a volunteer and sticking somebody in the monster room and then putting somebody else over by the pool table. I am really bad at that. I'm not apologizing for it because sometimes people get activity that way.
Yep, definitely.
But after we put his camera up and the recorders, we went back up to the main floor and we're talking about that story with the guy on the Ouija board, and then him and I go up to the rest of the guests that are up in Carl's apartment with the Phasma box. And he asked a couple questions, or no, they were asking questions when we walked up, and then through the Phasma, clear as day, you hear a female say something about cutting. And he looks at me and he goes, "What were we just talking about?" And then he asked a couple, he was asking them to if they could throw the bottles again. We tried that shit all night, and it never happened, but he had asked them to throw the bottles again because nobody was down in the basement, and a female voice came through and said, "Stop recording." And it wasn't 15 minutes later, Daniel, that we went back down to the basement?
Yeah, something like that. About 15, 20 minutes.
We all went. Like, everybody left Carl's apartment. We took the Phasma down and everything. And when we got down there, his camera and everything was dead. It was off. Battery was dead. Wasn't your SD card full too?
Yeah, the SD card was full. The camera battery was dead. I had 2 IR lights that were dead. A grid light that I had just put fresh batteries in. Those were dead.
So pretty much that spirit told you guys, hey, your stuff's done.
Well, it left the recorders going. Like, all the recorders were still recording, so we went into the room that they call the Faces room, and we just did a 30-minute session in there. It was right up until 3 o'clock when we had to leave, and she was coming down to get us. But when we left that session, which we didn't get a whole lot in that room, other than seeing, the periscope did light up one time in there. And then earlier that night, there was a dark mass standing in between us and Daniel when he was leaning against the wall. But after our session was over for the end of the night and we're walking out, my recorder was still on, but wasn't recording anymore. It had stopped.
Really?
Yeah. So.
and not only that, the periscope activity, that was actually intelligent responses we were, because you were telling it, hey, light it up to yellow, and it would stop on yellow. Then you'd say light it up to green, it'd go all the way up to green. So it was intelligent activity we were getting on the periscope.
Yeah, I mean, it lit up red first. I'd asked it to light up yellow, so the red would go off. And there's 3 red, there's 2 yellow, and then there's 3 green. And it lit up the red, and then when I asked it to light up yellow, the red went off, and then the yellow's directly in the middle of the periscope. It lit up yellow. And then I asked it to go to green, and it went from the yellow to the green. And then shut off.
I love when it does that.
But other than that, I mean, that was the most that we got there, and that happened between 2:15 in the morning till we were leaving at 3.
So Daniel, was that your first time there?
Yes, that was my first time there.
So what did you think of it?
It wasn't quite the experience that I thought it was going to be, based on certain shows that I've seen about it. It was definitely a lot calmer than I thought it would be.
Don't get me started on those shows, man. Don't get me started. We'll be here for 6 hours.
He already knows my opinion on Ghost Adventures.
But yeah, it was definitely a lot calmer than what I thought it would be. I've investigated Old South Pittsburgh 6 different times, and I've never not had an experience or multiple experiences during my investigations at South Pittsburgh. It's been one of the most active places I've ever been to.
So South Pittsburgh is a new breed. Is a whole new breed.
So how long have you been investigating, Daniel?
I first got started investigating when I was stationed at Parris Island, South Carolina, back in 2009. That whole area. I'm 45 minutes from Savannah. I'm an hour from Charleston. That whole low-lying regions, swampland, all that. It's all teeming with Civil War history and Revolutionary history, and it's just it is a hot spot for paranormal activity.
Awesome. So
I'm
gonna jump right in.
Jump.
And
Just do it.
Daniel had given us a couple of questions, and I'm gonna do the second question first. And because I'm thinking that. Well, okay, fine. Screw it. We'll do
I
the
know you're
first one.
totally not leaving that first question for me.
Yes,
After
I
I told you I was stumped with an answer.
So I'll do the second one because I said I would, and I'm a man of my word. How about the theory of poltergeist activity is linked to human emotion and possibly hormonal change? So that's actually, to me, is quite in depth, and this is where it's two questions, but it goes into they do feed into each other. So like the human emotion side of it, Shannon, you had found that article on I don't know if I have it up right here.
I do too.
Okay, why don't you read that and then we'll talk about that one.
Well, it's a really long article, but the one little paragraph that I felt actually kind of pertained to this question a little bit is the one I got. It says, some paranormal experiences are easily explained based on faulty activity in the brain. Reports of poltergeist and visibly moving objects seem to be consistent with damage to certain regions of the right hemisphere that are responsible for visual processing. Certain forms of epilepsy, meanwhile, can cause the spooky feeling that a presence is stalking you close by, perhaps underlying accounts of faceless shadow people lurking in the surroundings.
So that kind of feeds into this the human emotion side of it. So like Shannon and you and I were discussing earlier that, when we take people into some of these areas, you've got some people that are, they're all hyped up to go in there. We're putting them in dark places. They're around people they don't know. They're expecting something to happen, but half the time don't want anything to happen directly to them. They're hoping it happens to the person they brought. So that way they can see it but go, okay, I'm okay. But then, so their emotions they're such a level that if, like, we were talking about people with brain injury.
Yeah.
If their brain is injured, they say we only use a tenth of our brain. If that brain is injured, is the brain trying to use another portion of it? We have a lot of times we have autistic people bring, and I don't know if this is cruel or not, they'll bring their autistic family members to a hunt. And it seems like every time that happens, we get a lot of activity. And
we've had that at Reformatory.
I'm wondering if the brain is damaged, or if it's not firing the way and I know you can't see my quotes in the air, the normal is, because what is normal? We go spend long hours in dark places in the middle of the night with no lights and all sorts of stuff. If the brain is injured or damaged or isn't working like they say it should, does that allow that person to start using another portion of their brain that allows them to see and hear more, and their emotions build up, and everything gets all heightened, and they're all tense and shaky? Does that allow them to put off more, or not more, but a different level of energy than what they're normally putting off, so the spirits can feed off that? You guys can jump in here at any time. I feel like I'm talking to a wall here, which I am actually. So, is that possible? Does that, Daniel? A few weeks ago, one of the shows, I have this theory in my brain, and I've written it down several times. Right now there's 9, and there's possibly 10 levels that they can figure out mathematically of known levels of I guess, how do I want to say that, of not humanity, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't think of it.
I'm not psychic.
Really? I did not know that. But there's 9 levels of known being there's 9 levels of existence. They think there's 10. So if you draw a line right down the middle of those and figure that's the norm of what we are right now, my question was how do mediums, how do they see what they see? How do they hear what they hear? How do they feel what they feel? But if a medium's brain is wobbling back and forth on that line and they're not straight, it's without having it here in front, without having you guys sit right here, it's hard to explain. If it's a wave pattern and that's what their brain is doing, and then you've got a spirit or an entity on another plane of existence that's doing the same thing, and every now and then they coincide.
So you're referring to the diagram that we've had on a previous episode, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So if they coincide and there's that split second they meet and they're able to see and hear and understand what they're saying, is that kind of the way it is? Is their emotions are allowing that all to come through? So that kind of works into the whole second part of this question of the hormonal change. Do I believe that has a link to it? Oh my God, yes. You get a woman, and I'm going to use a woman, Shannon. I'm sorry. Here we go. You get a woman that is hormonal, and Daniel, I travel around the country with 5 women usually, and half the time, at least 2 of them have a family member that showed up for the week.
Is that what you're calling it?
Well, their Aunt Flo came to visit for a while.
Holy fuck! This is not happen.
Well,
go ahead. Jump.
I was reading an article.
He can read.
Yeah, us people in Alabama, we know how to read now. No, I was reading an article that it kind of draws a correlation between basically what you're saying. A teenage female who is experiencing puberty. She's going through a lot of hormonal changes. And basically what this article says is it's almost like a telekinetic blast of energy that is creating this poltergeist activity. And it's all circulating around this, hormonal teenager. So,
why's it got to be a girl?
Because that's usually how honestly, if you think about it,
we're fucking hormonal anyways, like all the time.
But hello, think about when you first went through puberty. How hormonal were you then?
I don't remember that shit. I drank too much after that.
She drank during it.
That too.
But yeah, I mean, keep going, Daniel. I'm gonna keep you on that channel.
Yeah, it's I've read and heard about several poltergeist events, and all of the ones that I've read and heard about all have something in common, and it's usually a female teenager, and there have been male teenagers involved as well, but usually as a female teenager experiencing puberty at the time that all of these events are occurring. It's, items flying across the room or loud knocking noises, things of that nature. It's just...
Do you think by her going through puberty that she's obviously putting off a different energy than she did before she hit puberty, which is kind of similar to what he was talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. About 1,000,000,000% I agree. We do, Daniel, the group that I'm part of, Riverside Iowa Paranormal, we do a lot of home investigations. And almost every one of them lately has had something to do with a teenage female being involved. And they're usually between the ages of 11 to 15. So that makes a lot of sense. That article, I mean, they're like, I saw this and this happened and that happened. All right, you know what? Now, just based on what we're talking about now, basing on that, it makes a lot of sense that the emotions that they're putting off, the way they feel, the way their body's changing, the way everything's happening. I believe it can have a lot to do with not even just poltergeist activity, but just paranormal in general. In general?
Is that a fucking word?
Hi, my name's Bill. I'm an alcoholic. I believe that it can. Yeah, that now I'm sitting here thinking about it, that raises that's a whole nother show there. That's a whole nother talking
Do
there.
a whole episode on that one.
Yeah, no kidding. We could line up 30 female teenagers and
even bringing in all the scared, depression, and anger that we were talking about earlier too.
Yeah. The anger, you're scared, you're angry, you're depressed. Does depression have a lot to do with it? Depression is not just a state of mind. You can be physically depressed by being completely tired, completely worn out, or physically depressed by being, or mentally depressed by work, stuff that's happened. You come home angry, you go to places and things are sitting in the back of your mind. Daniel, I suffer from insomnia really bad, and there's times when I'm sitting in a chair and I'm so worn out, but I can't sleep. Now, am I opening myself up? Am I leaving myself wide open? Am I not grounding myself like I usually should? Am I not protecting myself? Because I don't know if you could tell or not, but I'm a little hyper sometimes.
I couldn't tell, not at all.
Okay, the medication's working. But it's just all them little tiny details that you throw in there, and you're starting to throw human emotion, hormonal change. You're throwing everything in on it. Yeah, that's got to be part of it. And what the hell was that?
Oh, that was me. I apologize.
I'm crushing a bag of chips.
Throwing
or
some
something?
paper away. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see how it is. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's jump into that second question here, because then we have a bunch of questions for Daniel. Actually, at least 10 of them, and he has no idea what's coming. Wants to know our thoughts more in depth about the theory that we are likely ghosts to the spirit world. Shannon.
Really?
Wait, no. Wait, let's do it this way. Daniel, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I actually heard this theory for the first time at Bobby Mackey's. And one of the other guests brought up this theory. I had never heard this theory before in my entire life. I do think it's entirely plausible that maybe that's why we're only, like you were saying earlier, that little tiny glimpse of a second where a medium is over in the spirit realm and communicating and so on. It's possibly the same thing with us, where we're just a tiny glimpse to them for a split second. And, that's why when we're doing investigations using a Phasma box or an SB7, we're only getting, it's very rare to get a full sentence. Mm-hmm. Using one of those devices. It's usually 1 or 2 words, maybe 3 words, but very rarely do you get an entire full sentence in an EVP or live audio, like I said, with an SB7 or the Phasma. So, I do think it's completely plausible that, we appear to them as they appear to us. And just like we see a spirit or hear something, we go, what the hell was that? Yeah. On the flip side of that coin, it could be the exact same way. Who's there? Well, who the hell is asking me that?
Well, we've actually got stuff through the Phasma when Beth and I worked at Randolph County all the time, every weekend. I completely agree with Daniel on the whole thing, because we've actually had through the Phasma where it sounded like 2 spirits having a conversation, like a doctor and a nurse up at the asylum, and then one of them said, who are they? So it's almost like they were just having their own little conversation, like we were in their space, but then they turned and they saw us and were wanting to know who we were. But as far as how they see us, to be honest with you, I don't think we will ever know that.
Until we get there.
One of us is going to have to die.
I'm not volunteering.
I'm voting Daniel right now.
No goes.
You volunteering for tribute? But I mean, I completely agree with it. I honestly think that they look at us that way, and we've also had spirits talk and ask, "Are you dead?" through the Phasma box, and whether or not they were talking to us or another spirit, I don't know, but it seems plausible.
Would that be part of the reason, we're constantly talking to them about every piece of equipment that we bring, like it won't hurt you, we're not here to harm you, and then it takes them sometimes a while to even come over and maybe touch an EMF detector or come through the box or set off an alarm, because it's not, who knows when they passed on? When did they become a spirit?
Half of them don't say. There are some that don't know that they're dead too.
And I love it when I almost said a customer. I love it when a guest goes, "Do you know you're dead?" And
I know.
At first I thought that's the dumbest question I've ever heard, and then I keep thinking, I don't think that's very dumb. That's a good question, but you take them home with you and explain to them they're dead, because I'm not going to.
But at RCI we had what sounded like two male spirits arguing, because it was like after they asked that, it was actually me that asked that question, "How did you die?" And it sounded like two male spirits were arguing and I mean, like yelling at each other, and it was coming through the Phasma. It was really weird, but it caused an argument. I have not asked that question since. And people always tell me, I'll say there's no wrong question, and of course, you got that one person that's like, "How did you die?" And I'm like, "Oh Lord, here we go."
So yeah, there's. Are we ghosts in the spirit world? I'd have to agree with both of you. I think that they've got to be looking at us like, what in the hell? And if it does work on that 9 planes of existence, and if they figure out that there is that 10th plane, and they are on a wave pattern, they're coming in and out of our existence, because they're not trapped in one singularity, that they've got to be passing through going, what the hell was that? Just like we do it. What
do you ever wonder? Do you ever wonder if, when someone says, "I just got touched on the shoulder," or "I got touched on the back of the leg," do you ever wonder if the spirits are doing that to see if we are real?
We'll touch you now. Here we go.
I'm just
Daniel,
saying.
what do you think?
Well, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, it almost kind of goes back to, again, the thing with the medium, that split second where they're able to cross over and communicate. It almost kind of makes me wonder if these spirits had I won't say the exact same ability, but similar abilities. They were mediums or what have you, and maybe that's why they're able to cross over and cause physical contact with us, or vocal contact, poltergeist activity, if you will, whatever.
I'll throw a second piece in there that'll make that even stronger, what you just said. What I compared them to in my little diagram is I had to compare a medium to something. And I thought about it for a while, and I started comparing them to a person with schizophrenia. So years ago, they did a study on the lower back part of your brain. When you actually hear, and you physically hear something, it activates a part of your brain that they can measure. A schizophrenic, when they take them off their medication and they put them on the monitor that monitors that part of the brain, when they're sitting there talking to someone and they stop moving and they hear it and they go, "What did you want? No, leave me alone." And they're freaking out about stuff. That part of the brain's actually registering a physical hearing that they're actually hearing.
Right.
So if a schizophrenic's brain is doing the same thing, I'm going to use us as normal. Yeah. Okay. If we're the normal, and it was supposed to be the normal, we're screwed. But if we're the normal, and a schizophrenic brain is doing the same thing that a medium's brain is doing, and it's wobbling, it's on that wave pattern, and then you've got the spirits that are going through those planes, and they're able to go through all nine planes of existence, and they hit. Is that what a schizophrenic is seeing? But they can't control it because it's overpowering them. Because is their brain are they not strong enough to not say, okay, we're going to stop this, like a medium usually can do? Go, okay, I'm shutting this off. or
Right.
I can't think about this right now. Is that all? See, you guys are making my theory even stronger on this show right now. Just
It's
listen
all
to
good. Roll with it.
So I'm really thinking out. I'm gonna have to go into this a little bit deeper, but yeah. I'm back to the whole thing. Are we spirits in the spirit world? Are we on a wave pattern that we just, maybe our wave patterns are just so close together. That's why we're able to see each other and talk to each other and hear each other. Is my wave pattern, is there somebody standing right next to me right now that their wave pattern, if we were in a room, all three of us, could somebody's wave pattern be so close to Shannon's wave pattern that they could see her and they're telling Shannon, why aren't you looking at me? Who are you talking to? Because Daniel, my wave pattern isn't close enough to theirs. So
Right.
they can't physically see us, but they can see Shannon. Like, okay, who are you? Why aren't you talking to me? And then another one's talking to Daniel, going, why aren't you talking to me? And there's nobody else here. Who are you talking to? And then you got a third looking at both of them, going, I can't see anything you guys are talking to, and what you guys are crazy. Is that happen?
I think it has.
It's gotta
I would think so, because then that would also give credence to, why am I picking up something on my recorder that, Shannon 10 feet away from me isn't picking up on her recorder? Because, my wavelength is matching with this entity's wavelength, and that's how I'm able to pick up, through that device. But over here in her little energy zone, her little energy bubble, it's not picking up over there.
It could also be the difference between male and female too, though. It could be like a female trying to communicate more with him than she would with me.
When I was down at Atchison, Kansas, down there at the McAteer Villa, there was guys that were getting touched all the time, and the women in our group were like, I'm not getting touched. The guys were getting talked to all the time. The guys were being told to come to a room and everything. And then when we did the more of the history of it, it was more or less that over half the town was whorehouses, and there was a lot of women that were living in McAteer Villa. So were they trying to pick up an extra $1 here and there, or I don't know.
Well, we did have 3 women at Bobby Mackey's that they could ask a question and almost instantly an answer would come through the Phasma box. But if Daniel would ask a question or I would ask a question, or we had 2 other guys there, I mean, anytime we asked a question, it was like almost dead silence. But these 3 women that came together, when they asked questions, taking turns, they were getting responses.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think the only time I ever got a response through the Phasma box was when I asked if they knew who owned the bar, and they just kept saying it was an asshole.
Yeah, they called. It did say Bobby like 2 or 3 times through the Phasma that night too, but I'd never heard it say that before.
See, that theory is getting stronger and stronger about, are we in the spirit world? Are we their spirit world? That is... I'm not going to be able to sleep
this is my
tonight.
paradise, I don't want it anymore. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't believe I ain't going to go into that. That's a whole other show there.
That's next Wednesday.
That's next week. So I think Daniel, them are 2 awesome questions. I think we're going to have to keep bringing up to other guests, and I want to know what their thoughts are on them. We're going to use those constantly.
Well, glad I could help.
I'm going to throw these against Tyler.
I would record it.
Yeah.
Record it so we can play it from a psychic medium's perspective. That'd be good to have.
That would. Oh, I'm
Tyler,
so gonna
Pam,
do that.
or Andrew, or even Beth. Actually, I can ask Beth Friday. I'll ask Beth Friday and try and record it.
Okay.
Because I'll work with her Friday.
Sounds good.
These questions are so corny.
So,
I feel really bad for you, Daniel.
This is where we put you on the spot for the next few minutes, and there's no wrong answer unless it's, do you know how you died?
These are not technical. These are not technical like the 2 you sent us. Okay, these are just have fun with it.
Yep.
My name is King Arthur, and I'm on a quest for the Holy Grail. There you go.
But if it was a swallow and it carried it by the husks, an African or
Oh my god, you guys are two peas in a pod right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the question and answer period of our show. Tonight, the questions will be asked by Shannon, and the answers will be given by Daniel. If these answers don't sit fine with you, we don't care. So, go for it, Shannon.
Alright, I'm gonna start out with the corniest one that I think's the corniest one.
I'm already laughing.
If you were a ghost, who and where would you haunt?
If I were a ghost, who and where would I haunt?
You could tell he's military because every military person asks the question before. Yes, they do.
Like
so
a spelling bee.
You know they understand the question. Go, Daniel.
Oh man. Wow, that's actually a really tough question. I've never really thought about it. Who I would haunt? I honestly don't know who I would haunt. Where I would haunt.
I have a long list. I have a long list of who I would haunt and be throwing their shit across their living room.
Where I would haunt, I would probably say I'd probably haunt a Madame Tussauds museum somewhere.
Oh, that'd be awesome as shit. Make those things move in front of people.
Exactly.
Madame Tussauds is a wax museum over in Europe, by the way, Shannon.
Well, I'd heard of it.
It's in Amsterdam. You can get stoned before you go in there.
Well, they have a Madame Tussauds in DC as well.
Yeah, but it's not as good as the one in Amsterdam.
That's true.
All right, sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't in the military.
Question number 2.
Here. Oh, do you think a supernatural creature can be caught by someone?
Do I? I caught myself not repeating these questions.
Look, okay, these are questions that we actually got from listeners. Okay.
Now, supernatural creature can be paranormal, or it can be a physical, like Bigfoot, or
the Mothman,
the Chupacabra.
Chupacabra.
So,
well, first, I think you would have to have physical evidence of the existence of these supernatural creatures before they could be caught. If physical evidence exists, then I would say yes. So it's kind of like they said in the movie Predator: if it bleeds, we can kill it.
But if it doesn't bleed...
You're not trying to kill it, you're trying to catch it.
So, but if it doesn't bleed, and it's a paranormal, can you capture a spirit in a crystal?
I'm going to say no. I don't think you can.
See, he's on my same wavelength, too.
Have you ever watched
in the
Ghost
crystal,
Asylum?
it can get out of the crystal.
It's not like the door's shut, they can't get in.
Have you ever watched Ghost Asylum?
I have, yes.
Okay, so you've seen where they've tried to trap stuff?
Yes, I have, and I really hope to God their producers are the one buying all the stuff that they're building these devices with. Yeah.
Next question. Hello?
Well, I already kind of know. One of them is, have you ever messed with a Ouija board? I already kind of know you haven't.
No, I have not.
Can I ask him the question?
Do it.
What's the difference between a Ouija board, an SB7, a Phasma box, or anything else that we use?
Poor thing.
Because let me give you my answer. There's no damn difference.
I would disagree with that. I would say, while in all instances you are opening yourself to a certain level, with actual technological devices like an SB7 or a Phasma box or anything like that, there is an alternate energy source that a spirit is able to draw energy from. But with a Ouija board, it's 100% your energy that you're giving, that you're opening yourself up to with that.
Okay, we use a baseball, not a baseball, like a rubber bouncy ball, and we've had them move it. And we've asked them to come forward and asked them to move the ball, and they do it. What's the difference between that and a Ouija board? That's their energy.
You asked them through a Ouija board to move a ball?
No. We just put the ball on the floor, and if you're here and you can move that ball, please do, and we've had it roll away.
Yes,
so technically
but
what you're saying.
Yeah. Are you using electronic devices around you generating an alternate source of energy when you're doing this.
No, we're just sitting in the dark.
Sitting in a room, sitting in a room with the ball on the floor.
And
Well, if the room
technically,
is dark, then how do you know the ball is moving?
It's not that
well,
damn
in the
dark.
Well, yeah, dark ball.
Yeah, sometimes yes. I mean, but we've had we've done it in the daytime in a church that we've investigated.
But technically, if they can do that, wouldn't you think that you wouldn't have to physically put your fingers on the planchette of a Ouija board, and they should be able to just move it to wherever?
See,
is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the actual difference then? Because to me, there's not a whole lot of difference. If they're going to be able to move it and use our energy, because we put people in a circle around it, and we're putting off our energy, we're just not physically touching it, and they're moving it. There's not a whole lot of difference.
In that case, I would agree with you. I would say yes, there's not a whole lot of difference in that case. But I've also never done that either.
A Ouija board is nothing more than a toy that was brought out for kids. That's what it was made for. It was a toy. It was sold as a toy for kids.
Right.
So all right, next question.
Though.
We're going to go way deep in that one.
It works though. Bill got silent.
No, I'm just waiting. I'm just listening. I'm listening. I'm here.
He's waiting for the next question.
Stop talking about Ouija boards. You ever change plans or routine based on a premonition?
Say that again now?
You ever change plans or routine based on a premonition?
Like in the middle of a hunt, you went in with, got ready to start doing one thing, something happened. Do you change your plans to kind of work towards what happened? Absolutely.
Yes, it's one of those, it's kind of like the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. When I go into an investigation, I'm prepared for anything to happen. So, or anything to not happen for that matter. So I go into an investigation and I'll just use my investigative technique as an example. I may go in the intent of, hey, I'm just going to be calm, cool, collected, ask questions, try and get some responses, but
I'm a prime example of what he's talking about right now.
I wasn't going to say that.
If that's not getting any activity to occur or something along those lines, then I may change it up and start prodding the bull, provoking a little bit, just trying to get something to happen.
He said the P word.
Prodding.
Provoking, not prodding. Jeez, wrong show. My God, what is happening here?
It wasn't fucking lemonade, okay?
That show was on a couple hours ago.
I'm sorry. I'm back to normal.
No, you're not. It's more like normal. Normal. It's Abby normal.
That's lemonade.
But yes, I always go into an investigation prepared to change up anything at any possible moment. If taking the technological approach isn't working, then I'll go back to, for lack of a better term, old school roots of just sitting in a room with a piece of paper or something, just writing down what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing, anything, just removing all technology from the equation.
Well, we did that at Bobby Mackey's too. We kind of sat in the dark and actually that was a pretty good group because when I would have the Phasma off and nothing running, I mean, they stayed pretty quiet for a while. And then when we weren't getting anything, I told him to do his thing.
Have you blindfolded him yet, though?
No, and I forgot my headphones too.
Daniel, have you ever tried that?
I have. Like I said, one investigative technique that I've done is having, and I did this at Old South Pittsburgh. Me and one of my teammates, we sat in what they call the shadow hallway, and we sat one facing each other, but one on each end of the hallway. And
down by the nurses' station or whatever, that hallway?
It's the hallway with all the general practitioners' exam rooms right above the chapel.
Okay.
So
Shannon,
yeah, I
let's
sat
go
at
to the
one end
chapel.
of the hallway. My teammate sat at the other end of the hallway. We sat facing each other. We didn't say anything. We didn't ask any questions. We just wrote down what we felt, what we heard. If we saw anything moving in the darkness, we wrote it down. And then after about 5-10 minutes, we got together, compared notes, and tried to document, yes, okay, we both heard a knock at this time, or I heard a knock down on this end, but I didn't hear it on my end.
But I mean, have you ever done the sensory deprivation where you blindfold yourself or blindfold a guest and you're taking, because your eyes can play tricks on you in the dark, because I mean, as being in the military, when you're out in the dark area and there's just a little bit of light, your eyes will really focus on that light and you can actually see very well.
Yes.
But in a building where you get that little peep of light, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Am I actually seeing something? Is my brain playing with me? Try blindfolding and just listen. Because once you take that sight away, even in the dark, because obviously you can still see some stuff in the dark, but in the dark, blindfold yourself and just listen. Because your sense of feel and your sense of hearing is so heightened at that stage. But it also plays back to one of our questions. It plays back on your emotion too, because sometimes we'll get a guest. They'll be like, "Oh, I'll be blindfolded, no big deal," and they get anxious and they tighten up and they get excited a little bit. Okay, I can't see right. anything. I'm around strange people again. So try that sometime, because it's an amazing technique that seems to work really well, even when you're doing just a private investigation where you're just going out on your own. I'd try that with when you said you put one of you guys on one end of the hallway and you on the other, have one of you be blindfolded and try it.
Or even both of them.
Well, because
then one couldn't see what was going on around the other.
True. That's true. That might be something cool to try down there.
Yeah.
Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, definitely. Or just anywhere?
Anywhere. But I mean, and the blindfolds I'm talking about, I go to Walmart and buy them like 88-cent sleeping masks. I mean, you just pop one of those on. You can't see crap through those damn things. So it works really well.
Did you ever get the audio on the soundboard?
No. You know what? Both of you can bite me, all right?
Well, those were the corny questions, and I know we only got about 4 more minutes left.
So, Daniel, what's your favorite piece of equipment to use?
My favorite piece of equipment to use would probably be the Phasma box.
Okay, what's your favorite piece of non-electronic equipment?
Non-electronic equipment.
Dump them. He don't have one.
No, that's not true. I do have a set of dowsing rods. And that's probably the only non-technological piece of equipment I have.
Technically, you have 2 then.
They work as a set. They're one.
Yeah, but your body is one.
You are one. You use the force.
You gotta remember who you're talking to.
Is here. The force surrounds us. It binds us. It brings us together. It scares the shit out of us in late night hunting. You're strong with this one. What else you got there, Shannon?
I think I'm done with the questions.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask you when you guys work next, where you guys are working next.
This weekend, Kelly and Michelle are at the Farrar School.
Okay.
I have a wedding, so I can't go.
Oh, that's right, Saturday.
And then I think after that, the next place I work is going to be back down to Missouri at the Penn. And then I don't know where from then. My wife hasn't told me yet. So she keeps it all in the book and just kind of pretty much get in the vehicle and drive. And then we go and we have fun. But just they're up at the Farrar School. If everybody's listening and wants to go to the Farrar School in Iowa, it's an amazing place. It's an old school. There's a lot of history that goes on there. Everything from an Indian battle to They used to run. It was part of the Underground Railroad for slaves. From what I understand, it was either the late 80s to the mid 90s. The KKK was still burning crosses in the yard and having their rallies there. There's a tree that's actually on the national spiritual lockdown where they can't ever cut the tree down because it's a piece of history for some. So it's a spiritual tree to the local Indians. So it's pretty an amazing place if you get a chance to go.
And Beth and Ann and I will be at Ashmore Estates Friday night in Ashmore, Illinois. I know it's going to be a pretty big crowd out there.
I want to go.
Then
so
go. It's Friday night.
It's Friday. I have the wedding rehearsal and all that crap. I whine. How much time we got left?
We got a minute.
A minute. So, Daniel, thank you very much for being on here. You're going to have to come back and be on with us again, man, if you want to.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
That'd be awesome. Shannon, you're awesome as always. I love working with you.
Oh, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you. To our producer, Jimmy, who's hopefully listening. Jimmy, thank you very much for taking care of the background stuff for us. And we'll get this out there. And so anybody else that couldn't listen to it, you can download it and listen to it. Remember, it's on ARM Digital Media. We'll put it on our Facebook site. The show
Breaker.
As soon as we get it on speaker. Breaker 19. But to everyone else, thank you very much, and we will see you guys in the dark.